Other interesting political news, you have Nikki Haley joining the women's sports debate. Now, this kind of shows you how much Fox News has acquiesced and bent the knee to mainstream media. A lot of people don't even consider Fox News conservative anymore because they've abandoned so many what used to be core Republican conservative issues. And during the debate, I can't help but notice they didn't ask a single Republican primary candidate about the women's sporting issue, which is a growing issue in the United States specifically. It's a big political, cultural point of contention that a lot of people are debating because apparently people are confused. They think women and men should be able to compete on the same teams, which, again, I know United States public test scores at all-time low. If you take a real biology or health class, you'll see that there are differences between men and women, a myriad of things that men are better at and a myriad of things that women are better at. And biologically, there are some vast differences, not just in bone density, body structure, muscle fiber, reaction time. There are a lot of physical advantages that, in some cases, men excel at, and in some cases, women excel at. There's reasons for the dawn of time we've had separate sporting categories, because that's what is fair. It's quite literally comparing apples to apples, or in this case, perhaps nuts to oranges? No, peaches? I don't know, let me in the comments. There's probably, no, nuts to, what's not a good food? It eludes me at the moment, but you get the metaphor, I'm sure, or I would hope. Now, interestingly enough, Fox News actually allowed her to speak on this issue, which I was shocked as well. Now, this is a tweet that she had, and for her, it did good in terms of the number of hits and number of reactions, and we'll break that down in a second. But I'll read the text. She has a text in the video. So the text, she says, quote, "This is one of the most important women's rights issues of our time, and the so-called feminists have been silent. This is not okay. It's time to ban biological men from women's sports," unquote. So that's her kind of her tee up for this little video clip here that she posted to her personal Twitter profile.
This is complete insanity. We've got to snap out of it, get rid of all this cancel culture, get rid of all this woke stuff.
They've been pushing strongly for biological men to compete in women's sports.
You're canceling our girls, and we can never let that happen.
You call this an attack on women's rights?
It is absolutely abusive. The idea that our girls are having to worry about who's in the locker room with them. They shouldn't have to deal with this right now, and who's helping them? We need them to be confident. We need them to feel good about themselves. We need them to understand that they are valued. What are you doing when you're allowing biological boys suddenly to intrude in their locker rooms and in their sports? This is the women's issue of our time, and we need to be fighting for our girls. And I will always fight for the fact that strong girls become strong women become strong leaders. That does not happen when you put biological boys in women's locker rooms. That does not happen when you take a biological boy and have him compete against women in sports. We have to protect our daughters on this. It's that important.
So it looks like that was kind of a political compilation of a bunch of clips that she's done. And again, interestingly enough, again, she needs some more marketing help in my opinion. A lot of people didn't know this about Nikki Haley apparently. So for her, it did quite well on social media. Now, again, this is statistics all taken within the first 5 hours. So she tweeted, and 5 hours later, I looked at all the statistics for it. Now, it looks like she got, again, this is good for her, 57.4 thousand views in the first 5 hours and 1,238 likes. So not too bad. That's actually one of the best ratios, 2.16%. Now, it looks like you have a couple positive responses, you have a couple of negative ones, but in terms of political reach, I don't know if she might be one of those people where they actually should pay for, I know there's certain features on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it now, where you can actually pay to promote your tweet so more people will see it. And again, I don't know what the breakdown is of her funds for the campaign, but she definitely needs to do something different because, again, for her personally, like in terms of like a personal record, this is pretty good because, again, she got 56,000. Well, that's a lot more than I get, admittedly. But she got 56,000. But, I mean, if you look on average, just looking at her profile, I mean, the average view is around, what is this? 20 to 40,000. You have one, let's see, she had one about Kamala Harris. I got 66,000. But again, it's just 20,000. Here's one. Okay, one broke 100,000, and there's a tweet about North Korea, Russia. Another 20,000, another 17,000. It's just underwhelming amount of views compared to the competition where you have Vivek and even DeSantis. They're getting a lot more views. And again, she needs to get this message out there. She needs as many people know about this issue. I actually think this is a winning political issue in the United States at this moment. So it's a good move on the political chessboard. I think there's a lot of people in the United States, especially in the middle of the political aisle, as this has become a politically divisive issue somehow. I mean, wind back the clock 20 years ago, this would not be even spoken about. It'd be so utterly ridiculous. People would laugh at you if you even suggested it. But nowadays, it's become a political issue where, on average, if you're someone who's on the right side of the political aisle, you believe biological women and biological men should have separate sporting categories. You shouldn't have biological men joining the women's sporting teams and beating the actual shit out of them, pardon the French, which has happened literally, unfortunately. I actually have, famously in the UFC, you had some morally vacuous, trying to think of a good way to describe this man. Morally vacuous is a pretty good one. The rest of I would say harsher words, but they just get me deplatformed. So I actually had a biological man beat the crap out of women in the UFC, and then later, after a couple fights, then he admitted, oh yeah, I'm actually a biological man. Being a biological man for what was it, 30 plus years of his life? So a lot of people thought it was morally abhorrent because, again, the person fighting this person, the gals going up against him, they had no idea what situation they're getting themselves into. So in terms of political discord and discussions around the issue, a lot of people started to change their opinion about this controversy after that UFC fight. I know a lot of my friends politically who are more aligned in the middle, including myself, were thinking, well, this doesn't, just do a gut check. It doesn't feel right. This man beat the crap out of a woman. And again, that's happening more and more. Fascinatingly enough, if there's no differences, as some people claim, no differences at all, why are biological women not joining men's sports and setting world records every day? It's because obviously men and women are inherently different in a myriad of ways. Some things men are better at, some things women are better at. It used to be, I can't believe it's controversial to say that, but apparently now it is. Now, in terms of responses from Nikki Haley, you have someone by the name of Samir Khan saying, quote, "Rad femmes have been talking about this for decades. Where on earth have you been?" Unquote. That got 684 views, 11 likes, giving it a 1.6% ratio. Now, I don't know how accurate that statement is. I don't think this has been going on. I don't think this has been happening in decades. I mean, decades means at least 20 years. So, I mean, realistically, I thought this is, when did Bruce Jenner change teams? I'm trying to remember. That was another tipping point, or another thing that kind of brought this conversation to the forefront of the United States politics and cultural speaking. But the sports thing, I don't think has been an issue. I think Leah Thomas is the first biological man to join the women's swimming team at UPenn, and of course broke all the records. Went from like the 500 best male swimmer to the number one best swimmer in the female category, I should clarify. Now, you also have someone by the name of Bad Brothers. Interesting name. They say, quote, "Nikki was less concerned about your..." Oh, no, sorry. "Nikki, we are less concerned with your stance on women's sports than your stance on bombing women's overseas," unquote. Now, that got 189 views and 3 likes at a 1.58% like ratio. Now, in terms of politically speaking, I don't think that's very specific to her. I mean, it is. That's her stance, but that's the stance of many Republican nominees. Or in this case, they're all fighting to get the nominee to be the Republican candidate for the 2024 election. Most of the people on the stage actually were very pro pumping more money in the Ukraine, saying it's somehow vital to our national interest. I don't know how. Porsche parts are important, don't get me wrong. Someday I would love to own a Porsche and move, although as much as I love my little Honda with the stick shift. But a lot of the Republican candidates are saying, yeah, we should keep doing this if anything escalate. So I don't know if this is really specific to her. I mean, it is, but it's most of the Republican candidates and, of course, the whole Democrat Party these days. You also had another response from Let the Birdie Die saying, quote, "I love how you guys keep acting like this is an issue that affects 0.001. Yes, I said 0.001 of all women's athletes is a national crisis." That coming in at 362 views and 21 likes, giving a good ratio of 5.8%. Now, that being said, just because something isn't a big deal statistically by the number of people affected by the issue does not mean the issue is not an issue in and of itself. There are many women who are actually losing scholarships for colleges and lifetime opportunities because they're being stolen by biological men who are joining the women's categories who have an inherent advantage. And a lot of people feel that's not fair. So politically speaking, I think it was wise of her to choose this, I would say, this political topic and cultural topic. I think she should emphasize it more in her campaign. She might get a little bit more support. It'll be interesting. I don't know if Vivek has specifically addressed this issue. I believe DeSantis has. And again, something that they should have all been asked at the primary debate. But we know Fox News just bend the knee and acquiesce to have a boring debate as usual, even cutting off the candidates when they actually start to debate each other, which is why we tune in. No, can't have a real debate. We don't want a real debate. We just want your canned answers, which are moderately useful. They're a little useful. You know a little bit more about the candidate, but a lot of them were things you already knew. I mean, some people actually want to debate so you can actually see the debate. But I partially digress. Time shall tell to see. She's, for the past couple months, she's been pretty far back in the polls when you look at the, who's most likely to become the Republican forerunner. It'll be interesting to see, does this help push her ahead of the competition? Could she get closer to Vivek? Could she overtake DeSantis? With all the data we have right now, I would say the odds are not good, but it'll be interesting to see what the next polls say. Thank you, everyone, again, for taking the time to tune in. I know it's a high ambition. I'm trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of September, so if you click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, really appreciate the comments and the likes. The comments really help build the channel, grow and develop, as well as if you have individual experiences with these topics. Love hearing more frontline experience, whether it's the ongoing UAW United Auto Workers strike, or maybe someone who has some firsthand experience working at an automobile company who can maybe tell us why they're killing all these beautiful stick shifts to go with automatics. So any insight is also greatly appreciated. Also, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.